Welcome to the Crazy Happy Podcast. Thank you for dropping in for your dose of crazy happiness and a quick hit of positivity. Welcome to episode 33. I'm your host, Tanya Vetter of TanyaVetter.com. Today's episode is being brought to you by Women Empowerment Training Institute, empowering women and youth through engagement and exposure. Happy Wisdom Wednesday, guys. You know, I love Wisdom Wednesdays. I love every day that we chat here, right? But I really love Wednesdays because if you really pay attention to it, I usually give you some old school nuggets that you can put in your pocket. So today's topic is actually going to come from a poem or a quote from Erin Hanson, and it says, "What if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly?" I absolutely love this quote, poem. I love this writing because I've seen this quote or this poem now probably 5 times in 5 separate places in the last month, okay? And anytime I see something in my path over and over like that, I know that it is a sign from the universe that I need to do something with it, share it with someone. And so I love the idea for today's topic. Today's topic is the many faces of fear. We are all super familiar with fear, but you know what? You rarely hear people say, "I'm afraid," right? We rarely hear people admit that what they're feeling is fear. And oftentimes it's because they don't even realize that it's fear. So let me share some aliases of fear, right? Some dressed up names for fear, some of the disguises of fear, and see if you can relate to some of them. Often we hear, "I'm stressed out." So stress is one of them. Or anger. You see people being angry. Or hostility is one of them, right? Unhappy. Maybe they're negative. Maybe they're disagreeable. Maybe they're anxious. Maybe they're doubtful. All of these are just disguises of fear. I love what A Course in Miracles says. It says anything other than love is fear. Those are our only 2 choices. And I want you to think about something for a second. I'll use myself for example, because the first thing I want to bring out is one of the big heads of fear that we see in our lives, but we never call it fear, is number 1, procrastination, right? Procrastination is a huge factor into why people don't accomplish or continue doing what they want to do or love to do, or, you know, what they really feel they need to go for. So I'll use myself as an example. I was procrastinating on something that was extremely important, and I found myself pause, and I asked myself this question. I said, what am I believing about this task that's causing me to procrastinate? And what I found out is, as I pull back the layers of that procrastination, the truth was that I didn't feel like I was doing it right. I didn't really feel like I knew what the organization wanted me to do or was looking for in my writing. And so instead of reaching out to someone and saying that I needed help, I procrastinate, right? And we do that. Instead of saying, you know what, I really don't understand this, we tend to make up excuses as to why we don't want to do it or why we can't do it, instead of just saying, I don't know what I'm doing and I'm afraid I'm going to get it wrong. And I found myself literally making up excuses, like seriously. I think I came up with like 3 excuses. And every time I came up with an excuse, my mom was like, "No, that's not going to work. You can do it." Like, I had that accountability partner. And that's what I want to say as a remedy for procrastination. I'm going to recommend 2 things. Number 1, have an accountability partner that holds you to it. But when I'm by myself, I found a jewel that has helped me tremendously in procrastination, and it's by Mel Robbins. She has a book called The 5-Second Rule, but I know many of you are busy and you may not have time to read a book, so let me just share this with you. You can Google it, and it works. You give 5 seconds, count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the minute you get to that 1, there's something in your prefrontal cortex, the prefrontal cortex of your brain that signals action, right? And it works. I've been trying it. I think I did it for like a couple of weeks or whatever, just to see if it works, guys. Of course, now if I was procrastinating on this task, that I was procrastinating on it, I wasn't using it, but I did use it yesterday when I needed to meet a deadline. I literally did 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it gets you started, because what we do tend to do with procrastination is we tend to procrastinate when we don't know how to start something, and we tend to procrastinate when we get to the end of a thing. So when we're giving birth to something and when we're getting ready to close out or arrive at our destination, we usually tire out. That's the first phase of fear. The second phase of fear is doubt and anxiety. And again, this is just fear, because if you pull back the layers and ask, okay, what are you doubting that you will be able to do? Well, I'm afraid that it won't get done to that standards, right? That's fear. How about anxiety? What are you anxious will happen? What do you think will happen? Well, I'm afraid that they won't like it. That's fear. Pull back the layers. I promise you 100% of the time, it's going to be a layer of fear, right? So anytime we doubt ourselves or we have anxiety about something, it's usually because we feel the need to do it perfectly, okay? And I would say, in that case, we just have to do it, because the only antidote to fear, I can't remember who said the only antidote to fear is action. So that's the second thing. The third thing is really powerful too. And I'm going to be very honest again. I've used this one probably more than anything else in my life to deal with, you name it. The most difficult circumstances that come up, I deal with it like this third thing I'm getting ready to share with you. And it's by none other than Tony Robbins. He has a technique called less, never, and lose. So anytime you feel stressed out, because that's the thing, he says that the overachiever's word for fear is stress. I'm going to say that again. He says that the overachiever's word for fear is stress. So instead of them saying, I'm fearful, oftentimes you'll hear people that, don't want to, come off as being weak or whatever, they'll say, oh, I'm stressed. But if you pull back that layer, Tony has a technique where he says for us to ask 3 questions. What am I afraid that I will have less of if I do this or if I don't do this? What am I afraid? What am I believing I will never have? Okay. And thirdly, what am I afraid that I will lose? Guys, this works like our charm every time, because it gets to the issue of it. So even if you say, well, I'm stressed because I have too much work to do. Okay, so what is it that you're afraid you will have less of because of this task, this stress task of having too much work? Okay, maybe not less. What do you think you'll never have enough of because of this task? Well, I feel like I'll never have enough time to get it all done. That would be where that piece of the puzzle will fall. Or what are you afraid you might lose if you don't get the work done? Well, I feel like I'll lose my job, right? Less, never, and lose has worked in literally every situation I've had. When I've questioned myself, it's either been something I was afraid I will have less of, something I was afraid I will never have, or something I was afraid I would lose. And I really think this is an episode that is so needed that you can play this back over and over to hear these 3 phases of fear and the 3 techniques that I highly suggest that are really, really helpful. The other and the final thing that I do every morning and every night before I go to bed, I affirm, and we'll talk about affirmations later on in the week, I promise. I've gotten a few questions about those, but I affirm the same statement before I go to bed and when I wake up in the morning, and that is, I cast every care on the divine within and I go free. And that just kind of clears everything up. It takes the weight off of me. Guys, I hope these strategies and these tools that I'm sharing have been helpful to you, because I know you're busy. So hopefully I've given you your quick hit of positivity so that you can be crazy happy. And you know what I'm getting ready to tell you? Hey, do you have your dumping ground journal? Why not? Don't know what it is? Check out episode number 6. You guys know what I say. Oh, before I tell you what's coming up for tomorrow, tomorrow's episode is That's Not the Whole Story, but Who's the Author? Ooh, sounds like a good one, right? You know what I say. Be light, be love, be you.